As the cost of implementing software comes down, right, the value of process expertise goes up. And it's really important to go figure out, how do I enable it? How do I harness it?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our community news desk and another interview helping you understand how to be a leader in the era of AI, implement Microsoft technology, and really make sure that this technology is landing for the benefit of all. My name is Caruana Gatimu. I'm happy to be with you today, and I'm even more excited to have one of our amazing leaders with me, Ryan Cunningham. Ryan, hi.
Oh, it is so nice to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, you're so welcome. Will you tell our folks, what do you do? You have a really large remit, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about it.
I don't know about that, but my day job is working on the Power Platform product and engineering team. So I lead our efforts around Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Pages, and then a lot of the new stuff we're building out of that in the AI era.
You sure do. Yeah. And that is such a popular product because of everything it does. My background as a business solution architect, I love that space. Yeah. I love automating things. It makes me happy. 100%. And of course, now we're moving forward into Copilot Studio and Agent Builder. And that's a big change for people. How do you want people to think about this change in the way that we approach automation?
Yeah. In some ways, this is just an extension of everything we've been doing as an industry, and particularly in the low-code space for a long time. And really what agents represent is the opportunity to automate a lot of things that previously were just not practical to automate, right? And one great example, we have a lot of customers doing things like refund and return processes. A refund policy is usually like a 50-page PDF that sits on a SharePoint drive and gets updated once a quarter. Technically possible to automate in traditional if then, but gosh, who has the time to do that and keep it up to date? An agent can go read that document, make a judgment call, pass something on in a process, really broadens out the scope of what is possible for automation. And that is more than just a little bit broader, right? That's a real sea change in who can build and what they can build. That's what makes this moment so different for a lot of people.
Well, you're speaking to my history. You don't know this, but my claim to fame originally when I came into this community was automating a return process when I worked at Skechers, the shoe company. There you go. I ended up being their chief SharePoint architect at that time, but it was all about really taking those business processes and bringing them to the forward then. Cool. And now we're doing it again now, but 100%. With so much more power. Yeah. But it also bears the question. I feel like our leadership has to be different right now. Yeah. And with everything you're doing in product and the pace of change, which we've all talked about, how is your leadership different for this era than what you may have done before to get here?
Yeah. So I think this is a really interesting time to be a leader. And I think this is true for all of us, sort of anybody who's spending time in a venue like this, is sort of having to think about this question. And I think there's a couple of things that are really different now than they were even a few years ago. The tech is changing so fast, you have to be hands-on. You cannot just delegate this to somebody else to learn about and write you a report about. You gotta build stuff, you gotta touch it, you gotta try it out, you gotta have a really good understanding and be a learner again. All of us are kind of at the same disadvantage of what we don't know. And that's terrifying, but also really empowering, right? And so it's been really cool to just figure out how to make space to learn and do and use product in a way that a lot of us haven't done in a long time, if we're honest with ourselves. I would say that the second piece, though, is it's not just enough to kind of vibe code on the weekend. I think from a leader perspective, you have to have an idea of what you want to get out of all of this. Yes. And I think that's something that sometimes we get upside down on in technology. Where it's really common to go federate out the ideas and the ROI part of this. Hey, everybody, let's do a brainstorm, let's do a hackathon, everybody come up with a bunch of ideas, and then everybody post-rationalize, tell me what the value of your idea is. And then we're sitting here sifting through 900 ideas and, wow, this is gonna save Caruana an hour, but how do I turn that into dollars and cents? And I think a lot of people can relate with being in that situation. And those things are righteous, we should do them, they are valuable, but they don't necessarily add up to leadership transformation, right? You're being very reactive in that case. I think it's a time for a lot of leaders right now to go the other direction and say, what do I want to achieve operationally? And then go ask the question of what tools and technology are out there that can help me make that goal happen.
Business strategy first, but also I think you're alluding to something else. I feel it's really important, and tell me if this is true for you,
Yeah.
to have a bit of a personal strategy around that.
Yeah.
What do each of us want to achieve with AI
Yeah.
for ourselves, in our communities, in our career? Because this is not the kind of moment that happens very often.
Right.
And I feel like while I'm busy trying to reinvent myself and my team, which yes, takes a lot of effort, I have to have that kind of North Star personally. Do you have one?
Gosh, I always envied people that knew they wanted to be a firefighter at age 7 and became a firefighter. I think it's really difficult for a lot of us to truly know that end state North Star. But I would say for me personally, it is really, how do I compress a lot of the things that took time but had relatively low value, right? And then free up that space and time to do things that are higher value, right? And that is ultimately what moving the constraints with AI gives us the opportunity to do, right? Things that were not practical or possible a few years ago from a software development perspective, from a productivity perspective, are now possible. So what do you want to do with it? And I think that means set yourself a budget. Sort of like what amount of time in a day or a week do you want to spend on a certain type of task, and then how can you compress it to achieve that? Is just a very achievable and practical thing you can start to act on. Take this whole concept of set a goal and achieve it, and live it personally first, and model that before you go ask your team to do the same thing.
And I find it so helpful with Copilot to also give it a role and have it play some of this back to me.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of, you're a marketing expert, you're a strategic executive coach. Go read all my stuff, help me understand what I should do next.
Yeah.
Like, it's really become my thinking partner, which is good because I'm a night person and I don't want to keep the team up in the middle of the night, right? So, but it's really works well for me in ways that I never expected it to, which is so helpful. So let's talk a little bit about this other idea. So you gave a keynote today here at the Microsoft 365 conference. You're always such an engaging and wonderful speaker, but you said something that I really wanted to hone in on, which is, what is your moonshot? And I think it goes directly to this point of really understanding what you're trying to achieve. Why did you use that example, and how did it come to you?
Oh man, so I love this concept. I mean, we had a great customer from NASA on stage with us. So the moonshot was a natural thing in this moment where we've just sent humans to the moon and brought them back again. But actually the reference goes all the way back to 1961 and the original moonshot. We should send people to the moon and bring them back within this decade. If you break that down, that is a very big ambition. We should send people to the moon and bring them back, but also a very concrete constraint, right? We should do it within this decade. And that recipe, I think, is very important right now for all of us. And we talk about what does a leader need to define as their ambition and their constraint for what they want AI to achieve, right? Rather than post-rationalizing AI, go think about what needle do I want to move that was not practical to move before? What does it mean to have 10 times better customer experience, 10 times better financial analysis, 10 times better HR onboarding? What does that look like? And how much of it can I achieve in 6 months or in 3 months or in a year? And then start to ask, who are the people and the tools and the AI capabilities that I need to put into play? But when I have that mentality, I shared the keynote, I met a customer last year who said, it takes me 36 hours to generate a quote today. I want it to be 2 hours by June. That is a beautiful moonshot. and she did not know in that moment exactly what the right technology solution was to the problem. And that's okay, right? Because you're not post-rationalizing the ROI. You know the ROI up front. Even achieving half of that goal is phenomenal value for the organization. Now the question becomes, how do I get it done? And how do I constantly iterate to get towards that outcome?
And you hit on something really important that I want folks to understand. When you are devising a moonshot, it's meant to be inspirational, and you don't have to figure out the how right then.
Exactly.
A lot of people get hung up on, well, I don't know how, and I don't know who, and how can I even think about that? They're going to the details before they give themselves the inspiration. 100%. I think you're saying something different, right?
Yeah. And this is important because with a lot of AI projects, particularly if you're building an agent or you're building an intelligent application, you're doing more than just giving people a tool and telling them to fill their boots. This is where you will be the least effective you ever are at that project on the first day that you ship it. You have to start and then you have to climb the hill. AI experts, data scientists, they talk about hill climbing a lot. And that's very specifically, we have a metric that we want to move and we need to iterate every single week to get better at it. And so if my goal is 2 hours by June from 36, my first step is get it to 34, and then 33, and then 30, and then 29, and 28. And I think that's very different from how a lot of people have traditionally run enterprise software projects. Traditionally the project has a start date and an end date. We start it, we ship it, we walk away, we go on to the next thing.
Right.
This whole idea of getting onto a platform where I can iterate over and over and over again and get towards greatness, that's a culture shift, it's a technology shift, and it takes leadership to know where are we going and how do we get there.
And it also means don't keep practicing what I refer to as Badgel, which is you have iterations, but they're not well measured, and it actually turns into some kind of hybrid weird waterfall thing, and it gets stuck. I'm the fixer. I go into projects when they get stuck and they come off the rails. It's almost never the technology folks. It's always communication, vision setting, understanding the talent. We could talk about that for such a long time. And I want to go on to one other thing, though, before I run out of time with you, which is really thinking about the people. I always say that people are the great competitive differentiator in an organization. It's not, again, the technology. It's the people and the institutional knowledge that's there. How do you think both about our customers' institutional knowledge and enabling that at scale, but also on your own team?
So I think, there's a lot of angst around this question today, and I think a lot of people are worried about what is AI going to do to jobs and our economy and all of that. And look, we're going to be looking at a lot of shifts here, but I would say the least interesting moonshot I can imagine is how do we do everything exactly like we were doing it yesterday with slightly fewer people? That is just like fundamentally undifferentiated.
Boring.
But and not only that, somebody else is going to come in and say, how do I be a 10 times better organization than you? And they're going to figure that out, right? And that means we have to be much more ambitious with our moonshots. But guess what? Where is the expertise around how to be 10 times better at HR or financial services or whatever it is your business is? It's not sitting in the IT department, right? It's sitting with everybody who lives and breathes those processes today, right? And that's where that process expertise is the greatest differentiator for all of our organizations. As the cost of implementing software comes down, right, the value of process expertise goes up, and it's really important to go figure out, how do I enable it? How do I harness it? And I think there's a lot of people in IT roles today having the opposite question, which is, how do I disable it? How do I turn it off? But and there's righteous conversations to have about governance and security and oversight. But the real question is, how do I enable accelerated transformation? How do I become the change agent to do the right thing the right way? That's the conversation we all have to be asking, and that involves our people. That involves giving them tools, giving them technology, setting a moonshot, but then really giving them the conditions in which they can achieve it.
Absolutely. And just to call out for our viewership too, it's really important to understand that those of you with that process experience and expertise, you're so valuable right now, right? You are the heart and soul of this transformation. The people who are closest to the process, closest to the customer, and the ground truth, because we all know that our managers don't always necessarily understand how things actually happen out there, right? And so you really need to value your knowledge, and learning how to enable that knowledge with AI isn't giving it away, it's scaling it, it's empowering it. And if you do that right, it can lead to tremendously good things for your career. So
100%.
I try to help people understand that if you're thinking about only efficiencies with AI, you're probably thinking about it in a way I would want to course correct. And I think that's what you're saying 100%. As well. Is there one thing that you tell your team on a regular basis to keep them focused? I mean, I think it's a great privilege to work at Microsoft at this time in this business. It's also a great responsibility.
It is a huge responsibility.
We're very dedicated to responsible AI, but there's a lot of intensity for our teams. How do you keep your team moving forward? What do you tell them when you have your famous, his all hands are famous, by the way. They're famous and they're fun and they're awesome and his team is spectacular. I mean, how do you do that?
We have been through a lot as a company, as an industry, specifically in Power Platform over the last decade, but especially the last few years, and a lot of change, a lot of pressure, a lot of growth. There are hundreds of millions of people that use these products every single day and rely on them. A huge chunk of the economy relies on the products we all collectively produce. And that includes this community, by the way. It's not just the people building this software. That's just tools. It is how we apply it, how we give feedback into the system, how we set people up for success. So there is a lot of responsibility here. And I think the number one thing that we try to keep drilling into every single person on our team, from corporate vice president to new college hire, is we can't just build this in an ivory tower. you have to be hands-on, but you also have to really understand customers. You have to understand the other side of the screen. I still to this day read every NPS 0 comment that flows through our systems, right? And I still build apps and automations and Copilot Studio agents every single week. And I spend a lot of time sitting with customers hearing what isn't working, right? Because it's one thing to make it look great in a demo and make it look nice in our beautiful conditions in Microsoft. There's a whole real world out there, and we live it every day, right? And we also look for those gaps. Like we found a lot of interesting situations where you'll look empirically and you'll see a maker inside of a customer organization who's really happy, but their end user is really dissatisfied, and they may not know. And so like that idea of really have curiosity about the experience on the other side of the screen and do what it takes to really put yourself in the shoes of your user and have that empathy. That's what all AI innovation has to report to at the end of the day. And if that's not great, then we've got more work to do. And we're on our own version of climbing those hills, right? And I know not everybody has had a perfect experience with Copilot every time they use it. I certainly haven't either. But the goal is harness that energy, harness that discontent with the status quo, and keep climbing the hill. And I think that is the privilege of the journey that we're on, is being able to climb that hill together and do it as a community.
Absolutely. Well, we always like to say here that change needs makers, and you are one of those people. Thank you for listening to this interview here at the Community News Desk. This is a time for all of us. Ryan and myself and everyone in the community invites you to bring your knowledge and bring your curiosity into the community. There's so many ways for you to learn and engage. Find an event near you at communitydays.org. Take one of our classes on Microsoft Learn. Ask a question in one of our forums. We're just happy that you're here, and we are going to climb this hill together. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Caruana, and thank you all for the opportunity.